Welcome to another episode of my Fertility Podcast. Now, this episode is special because, believe it or not, you guys, it has been a year since we started on this adventure of recording a podcast.
I know, it's wild. I can't believe we've been at it for a year.
As you guys know, we love to interact with our listeners and our followers. And one thing that has come up on our social media that you guys have been asking about is like, hey, we want to get to know you better. Tell us more about who Dr. Garcia and Dr. Wise are, and tell us about your friendship and how you guys actually got together to do this. So we thought that
Mhm.
we would honor that request. We love talking. We don't really love talking about ourselves so much, to be honest. So this one is going to be interesting. And we did not write a script. We just literally showed up. And yeah, we're going to give a little bit of a window into our personal lives, our likes, our dislikes, our coping strategies, and all the in betweens.
I'm nervous.
I know you are. I know you.
And normally we have like a very solid structure and plan about what we're going to talk about and how we're going to get there. And this time around, we're just kind of, it feels like we're winging it a little bit, which to my brain is causing a bit of anxiety. But I mean,
You trust me,
I,
right? You trust me. We're going to be
I,
okay.
that is exactly how the podcast started, even.
Fair,
You trust
fair.
me, right?
It's like, Marta, jump. Come on. So let's take you back to the beginning. So imagine the year is 2019, and I am a busy fertility specialist. I have two little kids. I'm running a practice. And Marta at the time it's called a fellow. That means that she had finished her residency and she was training to become a fertility doctor. So she came to work with Dr. Vero, who was my partner at the time. And I was standing at the elevator to go and see a patient in the hospital that was admitted. And I get a text from my mother in law that my son was sick and he really needed to see a doctor pretty quickly. And all of a sudden, I'm just really overwhelmed because I have to see my patients in the clinic and I have to see this patient in the hospital, and my mother-in-law was on her way with my son, and I had to get him to see the family doctor or the pediatrician, whoever could see him on a short notice. And I'm like literally almost shaking with overwhelm. I don't even know where to go first. And Marta just comes and goes, okay, just take a deep breath. I didn't even know her, but there is this beautiful, gorgeous, tall, confident blonde woman who is telling me to take a big breath. And he's like, okay, tell me all the things that you have. So what can I do? And I was like, okay, so maybe you can run on my patient. And then that way I can go and talk to the family doctor. And no. And she's like, okay, that's what's going to happen. And so we made a plan together, and she went and did her thing, and I went and did my thing. And in the end of the day, I was able to get everything organized. And I would never forget that because, and I might get a little bit emotional saying it, it was just, being a physician and a mom. And I love Dr. Vero, but he didn't really understand what it was like being a mom and a woman in a doctor's. I had a lot of support from him in many other ways. And as you guys know, I owe him having a family in the first place. But it wasn't that I had like a sister that I can count on, like a real friend who actually got it, what it's like having the challenges of being a professional woman in the world. And this beautiful blonde stranger just got it in like 5 seconds. She knew what I needed. She didn't judge. And this is somebody she wasn't even working here in the first place. I might have never seen her again if she had decided not to come to Markham. So I was really moved by that. And I was like, wow, this interaction was really special and very meaningful for me. And it's something that I will remember forever. So that was love at first sight.
Aw, that is that is such a beautiful story.
I don't know if you
And
even remember that day. Do you remember that?
I sort of remember it. I remember, I was a fellow, so I was still in training. I really wanted a job, as, people do when you're, about to finish training. And I knew that the main person, or the person who was kind of making that final decision, was going to be Dr. Vero. So I was spending a lot of time with him so he could get to know me and all that. So I was like trying to impress him.
Well, you ended up
But
impressing me instead. Or you impressed both of us, I should say.
But you know what? It wasn't about that. It was just like, there is a person there and they're clearly overwhelmed, anxious, stressed. And these things we can tackle together, right? I was happy to help because at the end of the day, medicine is a team sport.
For sure.
Medicine is absolutely a team sport. Anybody who says otherwise, I don't know how they do it, frankly. And when I say that, what I mean is that, you have to be able to rely on your colleagues. Your colleagues have to be able to rely on you because inherently there's always going to be times where you're busy or you're unavailable or you just don't know. And to have the backup and the support to get through whatever you need to get through as a team, that's key. That's absolutely key for me.
Yeah, and I think that interaction actually can expand to the rest of the Market Fertility Center physicians like Crystal and now Dr. Shong and Dr. Kanji. Like we really do operate on that basis that we are a
Mhm.
team and we're here together every single time any one of us posts a message about something, being sick or kids or parents or whatever. There's always multiple offers to help and take over. And that's one of the things that I love about our friendship, just the two of us, but
Mhm.
of the whole culture that we have created in the clinic because it starts with us and
Yeah.
it propagates throughout the clinic.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's not about, your patients and my patients. It's not territorial, right?
Mhm.
And I mean, that was really important to me when I was looking for a place to come and work too, right? I have to say, one of my first memories of you, when I met you first, when I was again at Markham Fertility on that elective, I thought you were like this like super put together, glamorous, like fabulous haired fertility doctor. And I was like in awe of you. I was like, oh, like I looked at her and I was like, she's got it all together. She looks like she's got it all together. She knows what she's doing. I am very impressed by this person. And the more I got to know you, the more I was like, oh, she's a role model for me. Because again, it's about having that, somebody who's a little bit further along in their career, seeing how they've kind of got it together, how they've organized things. I was in awe for sure. And I definitely had a girl crush on you.
And then you saw me melt down in an elevator.
That made my girl crush even bigger because I was like, you know what? She's human. And that is very important. And she's willing to ask for help and she's okay showing weakness. Because those are also very important qualities too, right? Nobody, or at least myself, I don't want absolutely perfect people in my life because that is too stressful and causes me too much anxiety. I am not perfect. I have my moments. We all have our moments. And I love the fact that, you felt that we were able to share, and then we were able to have that.
Yeah, that is true. What is a good friendship without being able to be vulnerable and showing when your world is falling apart? Like it's great to celebrate the wins and celebrate the times
Yeah.
when you're on top of the world and you do have your shit together. But it's also great to be able to come and say, the shit's falling apart.
Yep.
Please help me pick up all the pieces.
For the record, I have come into your office many a time and said something very similar to that and then
Yes.
plop down in one of your chairs, be like, Mavis, just therapist me, fix me. Because as if anybody knows, Mavis here, she is the resident therapist of the Markham Fertility doctors and the resident life coach slash therapist of all of us. And this is why we nickname her Oprah because she definitely gives us the Oprah vibe. She is the person who can get the right pep talk at the right moment. And that is a very invaluable skill.
Well, it's an honor. I tried my best.
You do very well.
So that was 2019. And after being here for an elective at Market Fertility Center, Marta decides to actually take the job that Dr. Viro at the time offered her and join our practice at Market Fertility Center. So we got to hang out a bit more, but then
Mhm.
you all know what happened in 2020, in March of 2020 to be to be more exact. So COVID-19 happened and that was crazy and hard and scary. And because of that, then we weren't really hanging out as much. A, because everybody was stressed out, and B, because we weren't physically at the office anymore.
We weren't at all because we were three doctors at the
Mhm.
clinic at that point, and we had this rule that none of us could be in the
That's
same
right.
room as anybody else. Because if you contracted COVID, You were quarantined for 2 weeks, 3 weeks? I don't even remember, but
Yeah, you had to quarantine for like 2 weeks, and if we all got it at the same time, there would be no patient care.
the clinic would be done. Yeah. So I think I saw you maybe from like 50 feet away at one point, and I would like wave down the hall. Hi, you look great. How's it going?
Yeah, so we
Yeah.
kept in touch. I remember at that time we were doing some Instagram lives together.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I have to admit now, in retrospect, during that time, like I said from the beginning, I liked her immediately, but I was eyeing her. Like seriously. I was watching and observing because I had ulterior motives for Dr. White. I had a plan for her
That I was not privy to.
that she was not aware of at all, that she
I
had
was just trying to
no
figure out how to be a doctor.
around 2019, 2020. By that time, I had been at Markham Fertility Center for about 7, 8 years. And Dr. Viro had mentioned that he was going to get closer to retirement. And he kind of had put the idea in my mind that at one point he was going to retire and I was going to take over the leadership of Markham Fertility Center. So immediately I did what I do, which is to like prepare for things to come. I took it very seriously. I took leadership courses and lots of stuff. I was constantly reading and constantly doing things. And I was observing Marta thinking, is this somebody that I like to be a partner with? And I actually had a plan to, let's call it propose. I was actually had it all thought out. I invited her out for dinner. I was gonna like pop the big question right there and then. Will you be my partner in Market Fertility Center? And I was nervous. I was sweating. It was the whole thing. Okay. And then we go out for dinner. This was November 2020. Now we have gone over the COVID crisis together. I knew that that had been really hard to Dr. Vero and that he was now really thinking of passing down the torch. We are able to go out for dinner again. And I felt like this was the time. But then, we went for dinner and I'm drinking water because my throat is closing and I'm hyperventilating. And we're talking about all kinds of things. And then I just froze. I froze and I didn't pop the question. I got so nervous and I was so sure she was gonna turn me down and that she was gonna say this was crazy. I remember thinking I'm gonna be rejected, like she's gonna reject me. And I couldn't tolerate the fear of rejection at that point. And then I would still have to go back to the office and hang out with her after she turned me down. And at the time, I was like, I just couldn't cope with that. And I told myself, you know what? That's okay. I actually asked her on that time. It probably the first time we went for dinner because with COVID, we couldn't really
Yeah.
go out anywhere. I
Yep.
said, you know what? Let's make this a monthly thing.
Mhm.
Let's get together every month, go out for dinner, just hang out, talk. And in my mind, I was like, we've got lots of times. We'll do it a monthly thing and it's going to come up. Well, this was November.
Yeah.
By December 2020, now Dr. Vero had actually said, this is it. Like, I am done. And we got to start talking about this seriously and it's going to happen. And so a month later, after I thought I had years and that I was going to go out for dinner every month, I had to actually pop the question to her. At which point she sat on her kitchen floor and she said to me, absolutely, absolutely, we're going to do this. I get emotional when I think about that day.
Yeah, that was a wild day, which I'll talk about from my perspective. But, in terms of that dinner date, I still remember we were at that restaurant in Markham on Main Street there.
Mhm.
It was very interesting because we were having a great time. The conversation was flowing. And it was the first time that we had gone to dinner together. Because with COVID and all the restrictions.
Mhm.
And I remember there was this point where there's this weird, awkward pause where I could tell something weird happened in your brain. Like I could see your brain glitching, like in your eyes. I was like, oh, like, okay. I didn't really understand what was going on. To be honest, not in my wildest dreams at that point did I think that you were going to propose. That's not what I was thinking. I was not in that headspace, mind space at all, whatever. But I could see you were thinking something, but then you held back, like as if like your brain just glitched. And I was like, "Oh, okay, whatever." But then you sort of made me feel a bit more confident, and then you said, "Okay, let's do this like a monthly thing. Like we'll go for dinner every month. Like we'll get to." And so I was like, "Okay, well, I think she still likes me. Like I don't think I screwed this up yet." Because even though she had this like weird brain glitch, we did make plans for a subsequent get together. So I was like, "Okay, well, it must be okay then, I think." But yeah, no, I remember that. I remember that very, very well. And then you're right. I mean, I have to say, at November of 2020, I was not thinking at all about clinic ownership, any of that stuff. That was completely not in my brain. I kind of maybe possibly at some point future in my life, I was thinking that'd be something I'd want to pursue, but it was not in my brain. But I remember very vividly when Dr. Vero came into my office and he told me sort of the current situation of what was happening. And, obviously at that point I was happy for him taking the next steps, that he was kind of doing something to kind of move forward in his life in the way that he wanted to. And yeah, I remember you called me that evening and you were like, "Okay, so, did Mike tell you what's going on? What's happening?" I go, "Yeah." And we had a very long, very deep conversation that night.
Mhm.
And yeah, for some reason, sitting on my kitchen floor seemed like the perfect idea. And I remember the moment and you were like, "Okay, so like, are we doing this?" In the sense of trying to purchase the clinic. And I was like, Yeah, like why not? Like, let's do it. Like, let's try. Because in my mind, I was like, you know what? This is somebody who knows the clinic, knows what they're doing. I know she'd been doing all of these courses and everything in preparations, sort of contemplating that this was coming down. Because again, it was no secret. I know even when I first started speaking to Mike, he told me that the plan down the line would be that you'd be taking over, which, made sense in my brain. But then to have that opportunity with you, I knew that this could be an incredible opportunity, and I felt really good about doing it with you, and so that was a big night. I remember that in December of 2020,
Yeah.
and even better was the weekend that followed. I don't know if you remember that weekend, but bombshell happened, and then we had to very quickly get ourselves organized
Yeah.
and learn about things and figure out and make plans, lawyers, accountants, banks, blah, blah. And I was supposed to have a romantic weekend away with my husband
Oh,
at the
right, right, right.
cottage.
I remember that. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it was right the
Yes.
weekend right after. I was supposed to have this like romantic getaway weekend with my husband. And I spent more time talking to you than I did to him that weekend.
I hope he
Yeah.
can forgive me. I let him have you sometimes.
Yeah. 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 I think he was not very pleased, I will say, in the moment, because there was really not much romance. It was a lot of you and me on the phone with accountants. But at the end of the day, it also showed me who he was and what kind of guy he was, which he definitely passed that test.
Yeah.
And I think all's well that ends well,
Mhm.
everybody's happy now. But that was a wild time. I mean, you and I
Yeah.
probably over the course of those 6 months were talking to each other multiple hours a day,
Mhm.
it felt like,
Yep.
in meetings,
Yep.
whatever,
Yep.
texting, calling,
Yep.
just trying to kinda navigate this because it
Yep.
felt a little bit like you and me versus all these other things,
The
all these
world.
other
Yeah.
forces. Yeah, right?
Right,
Trying to
right.
sort it all out. So it was like
Mhm.
friendship by fire.
Mhm. Yeah.
It was friendship by fire.
Yeah, and Dr. Vero, he's a man of a different generation, and we have a great relationship. We're still great friends, but I think he had a vision for me that I was gonna take over the ownership by myself, just because he had
Mm,
done it by himself. I mean, his wife is incredible and really helped him with all of that, but he was in his mind was like, it's you and you take over like me, and then like the whole concept of having partners is not something that he'd really thought or talked about it with me. So I had to navigate this man who had mentored me and had kind of groomed me to be a certain type of leader in a certain type of way. And I just
mhm,
knew deep inside of me that I wanted partners and I wanted the right partners. And I had a vision for myself, for the clinic, for our relationship that was just a little different than what he had envisioned for me. So I had to go out of that comfort zone and step out of like the vision that this man I deeply admire, respected, had for me, and create my own vision for myself, have the strength and the bravery to create my own vision with myself. And then, yeah, we kind of did it together because we
Mhm.
became partners, we became friends, and then it was like ground zero. It was never like I've been here longer or I have more seniority or it is my clinic. Like we're three of us were equal partners, and from day zero we set up the stage. There's no queen, there's no queen of the castle. It's the three of us together as true sisters building something greater than ourselves, greater than any single one of us.
Yeah. And I think that that's really what makes the partnership and the friendship work, right? If there was a hierarchy, we'd be friends, but it would never be like that
Yeah.
deeper,
Mhm.
deep relationship type of friend, right? Because it would always be this kind of like thing over us. And I think that that's really what makes our friendship work. That and the fact that we are quite different people.
Yes. Yes, that we are.
We are, but I think we're very different people, but we have, at least I have, a very, very deep respect for you and kind of how you do things. But yeah, in a way, you also have to be true to yourself,
Yeah.
and that's why it works.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about ways in which we're the same and ways in which we're
Yes.
different. Let's tell our
Mhm.
listeners that. So, one of the things we have in common is we both love to read, right? And
Yes.
actually, we're always talking about books. And by the way, we both read the Akatar series by Sarah Malik, and we bonded like you wouldn't believe it. Like every day I was texting Marta being like, oh
Oh my
my
god,
God,
this
it
happened.
happened. And she actually for Christmas got me a candle. For anybody that read the Akatar series, you know what I'm talking about. Ryzen is one of the main characters in the book that I was obsessed with. And she got me a candle that says, this candle smells like Ryzen. And I have it on my desk. And
I remember when I went to buy the candle, I was with my husband again, and he's like, "What is this?" He's like, "What? Why? What? I don't get it." I was like, "Don't worry, babe. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
she'll
Like,
get
don't
it.
worry
She'll
about
get it.
it."
You don't have to get it. She'll get
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. It's not about you. It's fine.
So we also
Uh,
both love to exercise and I need protein. So our text messages are usually a combination of I got this new dumbbells, I
Lifting straps changed my
lifting
life.
straps, and
Mavis, get on it.
I look at this protein recipe for
Yeah.
breakfast or whatever. So
But I will say that our food preferences are quite different
yes.
because I have the sweet tooth, chocolate, dessert, my brain space. A lot of my social media is just trying to figure out how to get more protein into dessert. You, on the other hand, are not a chocolate person at
No,
all,
I do not like chocolate at all. Yes.
which blows my mind. But you're more the like savory, the
Yeah.
cheese, the
hmm
chips, the bread. That's
hmm
your thing. Yeah,
Cheese and
yeah,
bread are really my love language.
yeah.
I could just survive on cheese and bread alone and not eat anything else.
I don't eat cheese, really. Yeah, and it just goes to show you how different we are. But again, just trying the same goals. I will say though that our workout routines have also changed up over the years and changed up over time, and that's always fun too.
Yeah, I got you to be a little bit more of a morning person to start working out in
Yep.
the morning. And you actually convinced me to work out in the evening too. So now sometimes I split my workouts between morning and evening, or
Yeah.
every time I do an evening workout, I'm like, oh, I'm like Marta working out at 9 p.m.
The one thing is also though that I think we just have this shared obsession over healthy living in general. So we both have the standing desks, we both have
Mhm,
the walking
mhm.
pads, we both have weighted vests.
Yes.
Although I'll admit I very rarely wear mine because it looks like a bulletproof vest and like it's not cute.
I don't wear mine that much. It's really hard to wear.
Yeah, yeah. Could be our goal for the next
That's
year.
right.
We'll do want to do our podcast a year from now. We'll see how well
Right.
we're doing with them. Yeah, yeah.
Now, ways in which we're different. I think we process how do I say it? We process emotions differently for sure.
Oh my
I
god,
love
yeah.
to talk, like say it and write it. And Marta's right. I'm kind of Oprah. I'm like verbal diarrhea, emotions like out of
You have so many journals and you're always
I have
journaling.
so many journals. I don't know if you can see whoever is watching this live, all of those books there, they're all actually fully written journals. So yeah, we definitely process emotions differently. I'm more of an hour expression of emotions.
No.
Either I write or I talk.
I do not journal, period, full stop. I have tried because people say it's good, but it does not stick. It lasts, I don't know, like 2 days and then that's it. To be honest, actually, I think for processing emotions or dealing with things, it's like, okay, practically speaking, how are we going to do this? How are we going to handle it? Let's make to-do lists. Let's talk it out. Let's figure it out. And then, yeah, definitely, I definitely keep my emotions in a lot more. That's for sure.
For context, I am Spanish and she's Eastern European. So I don't even
Yeah.
think you can blame either one of us.
Yes. You married Eastern European. I
Yes,
married Italian. So they're kind of a fiery, spicy bunch
yes,
too.
yes,
So
yes.
we married each other, basically.
Yes, that's right. Sometimes when I complain to Marta about my husband, she would say, "Well, he's Eastern European. I get it. It's a thing."
Yeah.
I'm like, "What?"
There's something, I don't know, something in the water, this like stoicism. It's a thing. It's definitely a thing for sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No.
Yeah.
One way that we're very much in the same though is that we're both very ambitious, driven, and always trying to up the ante, right? Always trying to like do more, do better, take on the next challenge in any way, right? I will dare to say that if either of us are not working on a specific challenge or something, we're not functional.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, that's very
We
true.
need
That's
something.
very true.
And it translates to patient care. And
Mhm.
honestly, like I think that more than anything, the way that you treat your patients, the way you treat my patient, we treat any patient is so beautiful and it's so admirable. And I think that that's another big reason why our friendship works because I have absolutely zero concern about you seeing my patients, et
Mhm.
cetera, when we cross cover each other's practices,
Mhm.
when either of us is on vacation as well. And so, like, that's a big thing. I mean, yes, we're going to have different styles when we're talking with people or, different kind of ways we process emotions, but that like drive, that desire
Mhm.
to maximize patient care and make sure patients have the best experience, I think is
Mhm.
so important. And that's where
Mhm.
we're very similar.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree with you that it works because even though we are different, I know our core values are very much the same, which is doing the right thing, being ethical, working hard, taking care of your people. uh,
Mhm.
Even our commitments to our respective husbands and families. Like, I really admire that about you too, because it's a core value that I have. Every time
Mhm.
you're like, I gotta drive Adrian here and that and do this and do that, it resonates with me because I'm the same.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think when it comes down to those core values, we are very similar. The way that we express emotions is different, and that's what makes it spicy.
Yeah, exactly. Let's talk a little bit about how this podcast actually originated.
Yes.
Because, I think that that's kind of an interesting
For the
interesting
record, I did not
story.
get you drunk and make you do it.
That yeah, one thing we also share in common is we both drink very little.
Oh, yes.
We're really not big on alcohol.
Like nothing at
Um,
all. Yeah.
so let's talk about how this podcast started. We've talked about our failed proposal. We've talked about how we actually proposal by fire, a little bit later than that and how kind of things started. But I remember first you talking about this idea of a podcast. It must have been late winter, early spring 2023 because we went away, the 3 of us. So it was the 2 of us and Dr. Chan for a retreat. And we did it because we needed some time, just as the 3 of us, to actually have some opportunity to think about where are we going? What do we want to do? What are our dreams? And to kind of have that mental space to kind of think about that. And so I remember very clearly you were saying, Marta, you should think about doing more social media. Like this works really well for me. And that you said that you wanted to do a podcast. And I remember thinking, like, a podcast? Like, oh my God. Like, what? Like a podcast? Like, who in the world is going to want to listen to a fertility podcast? And I mean, at that point, I wasn't really listening to many podcasts, to be honest. And so I didn't really have a great sense of what was out there. And so I was like, I don't know. Like, that seems like, a big commitment, a lot of work, which it
It
is.
is. You weren't
I
wrong
was
there.
right. Yeah. But I was just not in a headspace to take on this big leap. I didn't see the vision at that point. I didn't understand in terms of what it could be like.
Yeah, I mean, I've been wanting to do a podcast forever. And honestly, I tried it a few times on my own and I just couldn't get it off the ground. It was so awkward just talking to myself and not really having somebody to bounce ideas with. And I know you and I were doing some Instagram lives together. And of course, we took over the clinic in 2021. There was a lot of work to be done. And we needed to wait until we had a lot more processes in place so that we can actually have this time a way to record a podcast. And I have to say it, I mean, you're hearing a lot about Meivys and Marta, but Crystal is a big part of this too. Even though she's
Yeah.
not physically doing the My Fertility podcast every week, she is the reason we can do it because she
Yeah.
has been such a good supporter. She listens to every single episode. She is an amazing cheerleader. She's holding down the fort between her and Dr. Kenji and now Dr. Sean at the clinic so that we can do this. And she is really the friendship that we described. It really applies to Dr. Shan, to Crystal as well. We all got together at the same time. We became partners at the same time. So I knew Marta before. I knew Crystal through the world because she was a fertility specialist and she knew people that I knew. But we all came together to take over Markham Fertility Center and take it into the next era of the fertility clinic together from the very start. So it
Mhm.
really is a friendship that isn't just between Marta and I, but between the three of us.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, what made you think about a podcast? Like, why a podcast?
Patients would see me at the office and they would be like, Dr. Garcia, I wish I could take you home with me. I wish I could have you in my pocket. And I was like, I think I know a way you can have me in your pocket. And at the time, I was listening to a lot of podcasts and getting a lot of value out of that because I was driving in and out of work. I was very busy. It's very hard to read a book. Initially, I wanted to write a fertility book. But honestly, by the time I
Yeah.
finished writing the book, it would be outdated because things change so much. And like, who has time in the middle of their fertility journey to read a book? And how big would this book be that it would have to cover everything?
Mhm.
So I actually started, I hired a book editor. I sat down, I created an outline, and then I was like, this is not going to serve my patients. I wanted to have a more accessible, easier way and a way that I can come to them all the time with new information. So
Mhm.
the podcast to me was the perfect way of doing that because it's accessible to everyone. It's completely free. And you can have it cataloged by episodes so that people know exactly where they're listening to. And I just felt like there was a big need for the fertility community to have that kind of information. And there was nothing available in Canada at the time.
And I remember after that conversation and after you kind of mentioned it, at first I was like, "Ugh," but that's when I started thinking about the idea and it started sort of ruminating and kind of it was rumbling around in my brain where I was looking at what's the podcast format like? What's out there in terms of fertility knowledge? And that's when I realized, this could actually be a really interesting idea and this could be something that could work. Then the question just became of terms of the practicality in terms of like how we could like actually do it and fit it into our lives. And you're so right when you said that, like we are doing this like thanks to Crystal, thanks to Selena, Dr. Kanji, and now, yes, Daphne, Dr. Chong, because if it worked for them and if it was just the two of us or even the three of us, right, when it was during that time, we did not have the bandwidth to take something on like this. Like just full stop, no, would not have worked. And so yeah, we had to come to the right place, the right time, have the right supports in place before we could ever kind of consider doing this, like actually doing this.
Yeah. And speaking of the podcast, you mentioned all the people that help us do this, which certainly Dr. Shannon, Dr. Kanji, and now Dr. Shang count. But there's one important person. Without her, this
He's the
absolutely
pivotal person.
would not be possible. And that is Daniela, our producer. She is the one that keeps us
In
on
line?
time. She does all of the recording, she does all the editing, she does all of the publishing, she does all of our guest bookings. She is so organized and so inspirational and really she's the best. We can be That's another thing we're having common. We're very self-critical. Yes.
Yes.
So it's
Yes.
not uncommon for Marta and I to go, oh gosh, no, this is, nobody's gonna like this. And Daniela is always a very positive person saying, you know
Yeah.
what, I am not a fertility specialist like you guys. And from my perspective, I think this is really gonna resonate with people. So she really does adds an excellent flair to the
Mhm.
podcast.
Absolutely. And yeah, if it were for Daniela, this never would have taken off the ground. Period. She's the glue that holds this all together.
Daniela, come on, say something. We know you're there.
Oh my gosh, I am here. I'm in the background, if you will, and I will say I'm blushing. I am very touched. It has been a pleasure to work with the both of you. So, thank you so much. And now that I am here, I have a list of some fireside chat questions that I've gathered from the audience, from your listeners. So, are you ready for it?
We're not ready, but we know you're gonna make us do it anyway. So
Yeah,
That's
I'm
right.
I'm a little scared, but okay, we'll try.
All right, so let's start. What is your favorite meal of the day?
breakfast for sure.
Brunch. Weekend brunch, best ever.
What is your guilty pleasure snack?
Cheese, definitely cheese.
Is there a specific type of cheese?
Savory like Parmesan, any of the hard cheeses. I actually don't know my cheeses very well. I just know they taste delicious.
I would say my ultimate guilty pleasure snack, Reese's peanut butter cups or the peanut butter O. Henry's, because chocolate plus peanut butter is like my kryptonite.
All right, how about beach or mountains?
Definitely the beach, I have to say. I was born in Cuba and I am a Pisces, so the ocean really speaks to me, speaks to my soul.
100% beach for sure. I use a sound machine to sleep. So I fall asleep every night to the sound of ocean waves. Thank you, Google.
How about what's your go to karaoke song?
Oh, I don't karaoke. I am a terrible singer. But let me tell you, that song, Defining Gravity from Wicked, that song, oh my God, it speaks to my soul. Like, I cannot listen to that song without shivering, crying, feeling all the emotions. I don't know what it is about that song. I think it's the most perfect song ever written, and it gets me every time. But no, I don't sing it because I am terrible. Like, I'm a terrible, terrible singer.
I also will actively avoid any karaoke of any kind. I do not sing. I do not sing in the shower. I do not sing in the car. Like it's just not happening. But I have to say, one of my favorite artists has to be Adele. If I'm like
Mhm.
in an emotional kind of mood, then that'll be like my go to for sure.
And sounds like you also have that in common. What is the first thing you do in the morning?
Sadly, check my phone.
Yeah. If I'm being honest, I'd have to say check my phone. Yeah.
Not
How
proud of
about,
it. Not proud of
No,
it.
no, it's bad. But
all right, this is something you're going to be both proud of, I think. What's your favorite workout?
Oh, definitely a really good leg day. Bring me those squats and those leg lift and those hip thrusters, and I'm in heaven. And then I'm gonna be in pain, but for the moment, I'm in heaven.
I have to say, I haven't done it in a while, but one of my favorite workouts used to be going to Soul Cycle. I'm such a millennial, it's painful. But I used to live downtown Toronto and there was a Soul Cycle studio. This is pre-COVID. It was on King Street and I would love the Soul Cycle classes. Now, then I moved and COVID and all those things happened, so I haven't done that in a while, but that was definitely one of my favorites.
I knew you were gonna say that. Remember when you and I went to do this whole cycle in Vegas? You convinced me to
Yes.
go. I could tell that you were like, oh.
I know. I'm like in Vegas and everyone thinks that everyone's partying. I'm like, no, no, no. I was just going to Soul Cycle every day. That was my partying.
And what's a skill you wish you had?
I actually wish I was a really good singer because I love music and I do sing in the shower and when I'm working out. And I really wish that I could express my emotions and share my emotions with the world by singing the way Celine Dion can do it and Mariah Carey can do it. And I have this dream that it will never happen because I love the clinic too much to submit them to this pain. But I have this dream that I would be standing in front of the clinic and singing Mariah Carey. You're going to laugh. Mariah Carey Hero, the song, Then the
Aw.
Hero Comes Along. I want to sing it to the Market Fertility Center community, but I could never do that. But
Oh
that's
my
my little
God.
dream fantasy that I would never ever happen. So yes, I wish I could sing for that reason.
I mean, obviously, I wish I could dance like Mavis. That's a given. But I think something that I actually tried last year for the very first time, and I'm going to try again this year, is to DJ. It's weird, actually, that our skill that we're both interested in is actually very musical.
Yeah, it's very musical. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's because we spend so much time not doing anything musical, and it's not some part of my brain I've used in so long, so it's kind of fun. But I would really love to learn to DJ.
And Marta, I know you've told me your ideal DJ name. I am not. For the sake of all of our listeners.
No,
going to
I
say
do
it.
not approve this message. No,
No,
no.
I will not
We're
say
gonna
it.
keep that a secret.
Yes.
That's right. It'll be a secret.
Yeah, no,
I'm-
because that way when I release my first studio album, it can be under a pseudonym, under my DJ name, so nobody knows who it is.
That's right.
Oh, too funny. Here's a fun one. What's your spirit animal?
I'm gonna say a lioness.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. I have to be honest, and I think I'm a golden retriever.
Really?
Yeah, that's it. It's funny. My husband and I were talking about this yesterday, and he's like, "You're a golden retriever." I'm like, "Yeah, probably." Or it's just because I shed a lot of blonde hair everywhere, like all over our house, and it's possible too.
All right, here's a good one. If you could swap lives with one person for a day, who would it be?
Ooh.
The first person that came to mind is Jennifer Lopez, but nothing about Jennifer Lopez per se. I'm fascinated by the life of famous people like Jennifer Lopez. I can't imagine going out to Starbucks and not being able to just go out in the world normal and have paparazzis on you every day. I don't want that at all, but I wonder how they cope with being monitored and watched and judged every single minute of the day.
I recently watched the Martha Stewart documentary on Netflix. So I think it'd be really interesting to see a day in her life or of some other like super high powered female executive and just sort of see how they do it. Cause I mean, we all have 24 hours in the day, but like they just seem so wildly efficient. I don't know.
All right, and last question. Let's end it on a bit of a funny note. How about what's your most embarrassing moment?
Well, I don't know if this is exactly funny, but when I had my son, this is in 2012, as it goes in the postpartum period, I was like, my hormones were crazy and I was tired and overwhelmed. I had to take him to an appointment at the hospital to weigh him. This is like 2 days after he's born. So I put him in the car. As I'm driving there, he starts crying, and I'm a new mom with a new baby crying in the back of my car. I couldn't turn over and see him. I panicked. So I stopped the car on the side of the road, got out, saw him, make sure he was okay, and did all the things. And then I actually couldn't make it to the appointment. But when I came home, I realized that I had lost my phone in the process of getting off the car and taking care of the baby. And this wonderful soul found my phone, found the numbers there. I think he called my mom. And then I was able to talk to him to organize meeting up to get my phone back. And this was like a 20-year-old guy who's just doing a nice thing. He was just like, yeah, I found your phone. This is where I am. Let's just meet to get it. So I get on the phone with him and I just like lost it on him. I was like, you had a baby 2 nights ago and I went through IVF and this is really hard and I didn't know. And I just downloaded my entire life onto him, like just tears upon tears. And this poor guy, I don't know if he had children ever because of that conversation. I don't know what kind of scars I left him with, but
Well, I think he's never being a good Samaritan ever again after that. My embarrassing moment, let me set this up for you a little bit here. I was in med school. So I was living in Kingston. And this is like before I met my current husband. So I was on a first date with this guy. And, he was good looking and smart and like things were going well. And we'd gone out for sushi to a sushi restaurant. I love sushi. And I don't know what happened, but somehow I ended up eating a piece of sushi and there was a lot more wasabi on it than I thought. I don't know. Anyway, and he asked me he asked me the question. He's like, "So, what's a great girl like you doing single?" And
Classic.
obviously,
Yeah.
as he asked that, this wasabi goes down the wrong hole. It is like fully like burning up my trachea. Like I just nearly died and coughed out a lung. And the pain and the burning in my chest and then the tears streaming down my face. Yeah, that's how that went.
Is there a second date? I guess not, huh?
There actually was.
Oh,
I saved it. I pivoted.
good comeback.
and
Good
saved it. Yeah.
comeback.
Oh, for the record now, I don't put wasabi on my sushi.
Well, that ends the fireside chat. I'm going to hand it back over to you two to wrap up the episode.
We survived.
We made it. Now we did just share our most like embarrassing moments with the world, which
Yeah,
is
that's not
fun.
vulnerable at all.
Oh, goodness. But you know what, though? Can I just say, obviously, of course, thank you to Daniela being this amazing producer. And thank you, obviously, we've said to Dr. Chan and to Dr. Kanji and Dr. Chong for being our backup and our supports as we do this. But like, thank you, Mavis.
Oh,
No, seriously, like if it were not for you, I do not foresee any world where I would be doing this. And so I am just so grateful and so thankful that you asked me and that, we've come this far and like we still have so much to cover and so much to do, it feels like. I'm really, really proud of the work that we've done. And I'm so lucky that I get to call you my sister.
oh, thank you so much. And I'm going to give the final and most deserved and the loudest thank you of all to our listeners, because really that's why we do this. If it wasn't for you coming to us and asking all the questions and downloading the episodes and giving us the feedback and engaging with our social media, at the end of the day, you are the reason that we do this. You are the reason that we block time up and we get over our feelings of discomfort and distress. And for me, speaking in English is still not my first language. I have an accent. It's been very difficult for me to get over that, to show up here for you. So the biggest thank you of all really goes to our listeners out there downloading our stuff and showing that what we do matters. So thank you so much.
And that's a wrap for today, Superhumans.
If you're looking to connect, get social with us. Follow us on YouTube and Instagram at My Fertility Podcast or visit us online at myconfertility.com. And don't forget, follow, subscribe, and share your favorite episode.
Thanks for listening to My Fertility Podcast and for being a vital part of our community. We know you've got this.
We're signing off until next Tuesday.
If you found this episode of My Fertility Podcast helpful, please take a moment to head over to the review section and leave us your thoughts. Your reviews and comments are incredibly valuable to us and help guide future episodes. We also welcome you to direct your questions to info@myfertilitypodcast.com.
My Fertility Podcast is produced by Rabbit Media Inc. in conjunction with Dr. Garcia and Dr. Weiss.
Music from Mixkit, Life is a Dream by Michael Ramir C.
My Fertility Podcast is not intended to replace any type or variation thereof professional medical, health, or legal advice, nor should the content be taken as medical advice. Please contact your primary healthcare professional regarding any medical questions you may have. The information presented in this podcast is based on the knowledge and understanding of the host at the time of recording. Medical knowledge is constantly evolving, and new research may change the understanding of health-related topics. While we strive to provide accurate and up-to-date information, we do not guarantee the completeness, accuracy, or timeliness of the content. The views expressed in this podcast by guests are not those of the host or the management. This podcast is not intended to impose any type of discrimination discrimination. My Fertility Podcast and its management are not responsible for any losses, damages, or liabilities that may arise from the use of this podcast.